This is It Was a Thing on TV.
Spoiler number one is Dr. Lee Franz.
It stinks.
What is going on? What is going on?
Episode 65. Submission number 885. Supermarket Sweep, Season 1. Supermarket Sweep Season 1 aired on Lifetime from February 5th to May 4th, 1990, for a total of 65 episodes.
Is this one of your fantasies? You see a big, beautiful supermarket, and they say to you, go ahead, do what you've always wanted to do. Run wild, grab everything you can get your hands on. Everything in this supermarket is yours, and it's all free. From Hollywood, where dreams do come true, it's the return of the one and only Supermarket Sweep. Are you ready to go shopping? Who's got the Niagara? Come on, you're on. Who's got the chili? Come on, you're on. Who's got the noodle-roni? And come on, you're on. We're ready to play Supermarket Sweep. And here is our host, David Ruprecht. Thank you.
First, notice the slightly different opening. Because, well, not the beginning of the opening, but when Johnny Gilbert calls the teams down, he doesn't say, okay, you're on. He says, come on, you're on. Who's got the Clorox? Come on, you're on.
Who's got the All My Stories video cassettes? Come on, you're on.
No, it's the Scotch All My Soaps video cassette.
Yeah, you're right. So, Supermarket Sweep was a different beast than it was back in 1967, and certainly a different beast than the one we remember as it, went on Lifetime and PAX and in reruns on Buzzer. And
I think the word you're looking for is evolved.
Thank you. The word I'm looking for is evolved.
And again, where do we start? I mean, there's a lot to break down here because even in season 1, the game had different looks. As I mentioned at the start, Johnny Gilbert would say after he says, who has the Claret's gum? Come on, you're on. Not okay, you're on. It just sounds a little different. But also, if you look at the open, they actually show the facade, the front of an actual supermarket.
Is this the B-roll supermarket, or is this something different?
This is, from what I've seen, sort of a kind of a quid pro quo type of thing. Okay, we'll feature your supermarket and give you branding, but at the end of the credits, it says that the supermarket supplied all the stuff in the supermarket. And the supermarket we're talking about is Hughes Supermarket, which looks like it was just sold a couple of years ago. Looks like about 2017 it was sold. And I've never heard of Hughes outside of here. I don't even remember seeing it on my numerous trips to Southern California.
Yeah, I mean, every time I went to Southern California, there was always either a Safeway, a Vons, an Albertsons, or a Ralph's. I've never seen a Hughes in my life.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, I've seen plenty of Ralphs and I've seen plenty of Albertsons down there, but never seen Hughes. Actually, another source says that when the Seattle-based Quality Food Centers bought Hughes in November of 1996, there were more than 50 Hughes stores. Maybe they consolidated them. Maybe they changed the name of them. And even further looking, it shows that about a year after this merger, all the Hughes stores were turned into Ralph's.
That explains it.
Exactly. That's why we've never seen Hughes, because sometime around 97 or 98, Hughes became Ralph's, or at least the name change happened to the stores.
Well,
It's basically a Jefferson Wards to Bradley's sort of situation.
I'll say this. None of those supermarkets compared to either a King Cullen's or a Wallbounds back in the day.
I'll see your King Cullen and Wallbounds, and I'll raise you a Publix and a Winn-Dixie, my friend.
Well, the joke's on you, because Wallbounds doesn't exist anymore.
Damn it. Neither does Winn-Dixie in North Carolina, but that's another podcast.
I've only been to Winn-Dixie maybe about 2 times in my life. And seriously, this would have been over 30 years ago. Winn-Dixie looked dead even 30 years ago. So I don't...
They're the beef people, Mike.
Let's just remember that movie.
Because of Winn-Dixie?
Yeah.
Is that another movie we're going to have for a Patreon spin-off podcast? It was a thing at the movies.
Yes.
Just possibly.
We'll cover that around 2025, probably.
Once the Patreon gets started up and we're behind everybody and we get no Patreon donations.
No.
Anywho.
Now that we've thoroughly got off the tracks here, Mike, bring us back here.
So beyond the Hughes kind of sort of branding, where they got their name shown at the start of every episode, not mentioned though, just visually, just seen. In exchange, well, I shouldn't say in exchange, but I'm sure it would be in exchange for all the groceries in the store. This game, again, the evolution of this game, even just in the first season, is kind of, well, I don't want to say kind of shocking, kind of stunning, but if you look at the early episodes and compare them to even the later episodes in that first season, there are some differences. Most of them for the better, but some of them, So the main game itself, from what I saw, it didn't change much. If you've seen reruns of the show on Buzzer, you'll notice that the first person generally plays one game and they go to a commercial break, and then the second player plays like generally 2, maybe 3 games, and then they go to the round robin. From what I've seen, it's more balanced, where both players play like 2 games, or it's a more even amount of games. Plus, also, it seems like there are a lot more games where you had to pick choice 1, choice 2, or choice 3. On Supermarket Sweep, you might have, which of these items is under $3, which of these items is over $5, which of these is $1.79. It seems like they played those types of games more frequently than they did in the later years. But also, in the round robin, when contestants buzzed in, the sound effect was a little different, and you might recognize the sound effect that the buzzers used.
Are you going to play the sound effect?
I'm sure I can put the sound effect in here just so you can, so it can trigger a memory.
This old rhyme claims the recipe for little girls is and everything nice. Jay.
Sugar and spice.
Sugar and spice. There you go. Okay, Joanne, you're still in the lead. Tyler's creeping up, as is Jay.
And if that sounds familiar, that's because it's from future installment, The $1 Million Chance of a Lifetime.
Ooh!
Yes, and they only used that, again, for that first season. Don't know why. I mean, it sounds kind of out of place, but still, they used it for that one season.
This is before they sort of swapped it out for the buzzer sound from Monopoly, past installment Monopoly.
Yes.
Okay.
So the front game didn't change that much. The reason that we're here is because the big sweep.
The big sweep, baby.
Oh, baby.
Because when you think Supermarket Sweep, it's the big sweep.
And the big sweep itself was very rudimentary. This again shows the evolution of the game, even in the first year or so. So by 1991, you had the shopping list, and you had the coffee, and you had some other little side events, if you will. The first season was pretty much the object of the big sweep in the first season was pretty much get as many groceries as you can, and if you can get a bonus, that'll help you out. And that's it. There is no coffee.
It was basically them doing the 60s era sweep in the here and now.
And that's why I said it's almost like an evolution of the TV show, because the 60s era supermarket sweep is very boring compared to what we got in the 90s and the 2000s and eventually in 2020, 2021, whenever this whole coronavirus thing sort of blows over. But so, yeah, the sweep itself was get as much groceries as you can, and if you get a bonus, good on you. And that's the game. Or at least that's the big sweep, and then you go to the bonus sweep. And that really didn't change all that much. But there's a lot to break down just in the changes in the big sweep. And just some of the other, not necessarily changes, but some of the features in the big sweep in the first season, particularly early in the first season. First, in some episodes, there was a lobster tank.
A lobster tank?
A lobster tank?
Can't you just hear PETA like screaming up a storm?
Wait, was Mr. Pinchy in the lobster tank?
Was Big Pinchy from not an installment Craig of the Creek?
I don't know what you guys are even talking about.
You don't remember Mr. Pinchy from The Simpsons, Homer's pet lobster?
Okay, I don't remember Craig of the Creek. I don't know what that is.
That's because it's still on the air on Cartoon Network, and I'm not even going to touch it because it's really good. But anyway.
But yeah, there is an actual lobster tank in the back of the frozen goods area, and the lobster's pincers were taped off, so nobody gets hurt or anything. And yeah, what a contestant could do is grab a lobster, just one, and put it in a plastic bin in a we'll call it a plastic bin. Yeah, like a carry-out type of bin you'd get like Chinese food from. And one per customer. I don't know what the value of it was, but there's people going into the lobster tank. Let's get a lobster. And I'm sure PETA went to Lifetime and said, how dare you treat those crustaceans like that? You're taking them out of water. They're gasping for air. That's not cool.
I can imagine that did not fly over well at all.
Oh, surely not. But hey, we have no problems throwing turkeys and hams into the cart. But, well...
Probably because they're props, but go ahead.
Well, no, remember, I said that Hughes supplied the supermarket sweep with all the things in the store.
Oh, yeah.
So they're all real.
The Foster Farms turkeys and the Farmer Jim hams.
Farmer John.
Foster Farms turkeys, Farmer John hams.
Yeah, Jim Williams would not accept that if he was here. You don't talk about Farmer John hot dogs that way. You don't talk about anything Farmer John that way. Vin Scully will smack you down a peg or two.
Okay, so back to the big sweep. You had the bonus items. You had the Foster Farms turkeys. You had the Farmer John grass-fed hams. You had no coffee. You had no candy or pick and mix for our British listeners. What did you have?
You had the sweep itself, and you had bonus items. And I thought I remembered one episode, at least one episode, where contestants could grab more than one bonus item. They didn't have the peel off stickers or whatever you want to call it on them. They had like the dollar values like on a flag attached to them or something like that. But I
remember that was from the pilot too.
Well, that was on the pilot, but I remember this from my childhood, and I can't find anything online to corroborate this. So maybe it was, a fever dream of mine from when I was, 15 years old. But there were other things that they did in the Big Sweep in season 1. Well, first, they had a great camera angle from overhead showing the contestants either at the start of the sweep or at the end of the sweep. And in that shot, there was a red clock. There's a red clock showing how much time there was left in the Big Sweep. And that didn't make it to future seasons. And that, I don't know, maybe it gave it a sense of authenticity in my opinion, but that was something I liked even, again, back as a 15-year-old in 1990, that big red clock with the egg crate numbers on it showing how much time is left. And, it's when the sweep started, it'd show how much time team 1 has. And then at the end, it would have 00. I really liked that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that too. I don't think it was a fever dream of yours. I remember seeing that in...
Oh, it's not a fever dream of mine. I can vouch. That's not a fever dream of mine. I absolutely know that was there. No, the fever dream was that people could pick up 2, maybe 3, but I don't remember 3. I remember 2 items being picked up, 2 bonus items, but that definitely was not a fever dream that the red clock in the background behind the contestants on the side wall. That's definitely something that happened. But then also, again, we mentioned the lobster tank, another food item. And again, this must have been in certain episodes because maybe Al Howard and the powers that be thought, you know what? Those items are just too darn expensive. Everybody goes after them. Where's the strategy in the game? And also, it's a budget cutter of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
At least in part of season 1, and I don't think it was the entirety of season 1, there was caviar in the market.
Caviar in the market?
Caviar.
Caviar. There were cans of caviar, and almost everybody, when there was caviar in play, went to the caviar first and got their 5 cans, and they're about $40 a piece. So that was $200 right there. And they had, again, from my wasted childhood, there were exactly 15 cans of caviar. So everybody could get 5.
In fact, okay, I'm going to stop you right there because that brings up a point here that I want to make. You couldn't just go wild through the aisles like Dave Ruprecht said you could. There were rules. And the rules were, 1, you could only have 5 items to a shopper. 2, if you knocked something off a shelf or otherwise damaged it, it's a $25 restocking fee. And 3, only the shoppers could be in the market. Their partners were required to remain at the checkout.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that, the restocking fee, because isn't that, correct me if I'm mistaken, but isn't that something that they've brought on the newly revamped UK version of Supermarket Sweep?
Oh,
yeah.
They're the new version of Supermarket Sweep. The contestants don't give a damn. I'm sorry. well, no, if you've seen some of the shows, and I know Greg and Chico have seen some of the shows,
yes,
there have been episodes where a contestant knocks over the entire shelf of products. And it's only a $10 penalty. It's not 10 per item. But yeah, the person knocks over the entire shelf of products, and I mean, they look like, oh yeah, I mean, they got caught red-handed and are upset. But it's like, you knocked over like 100 pounds worth of goods, but hey, we're only going to deduct you 10 pounds. And also, not getting too far off, there was a $100 penalty for hitting a cameraman, which I don't even remember. I don't remember ever seeing that. Not even talking about 1990. I'm talking for the length of the show. I don't remember them hitting a cameraman. And there was a $25 pound penalty on the new Supermarket Sweep in Britain if you hit a cameraman. And believe it or not, that happens more often than you'd think. Just accidentally running into it. Plus also the supermarket.
The supermarket in the British version right now is really, really small.
Well, that's exactly what I was just going to say is the supermarket in the British version is tiny compared to what we
I mean,
have
we're
here.
talking about Aldi sized.
Yeah.
Depends what Aldi you go to. I go to one that's decent sized.
My Aldi's is a good size.
My Aldi's tiny. There's a Dollar General around across the street looking at it and saying, "Damn."
I'll say this much. Can you imagine if there's a mess on the British version of Supermarket Sweep? Just Gary the security guard is probably thinking to himself, geez, now I got to clean up this mess.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not union, so he's got to clean that up.
Yeah. But interesting you mention Gary the security guard. Because, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, there were plenty of sort of parallels to Gary the security guard in season 1, weren't they?
I'm going to hold off on that for just another moment.
Oh, okay.
So we had caviar, we had a lobster tank, we had
Did they
different
have
colors.
condoms like they did in the pilot?
I don't remember. I never remember condoms there, but also you got to remember that 1990, the first condom ad hadn't aired at that point, so that may have still been a bit of a taboo thing, even for maybe like a Lifetime audience. I mean,
Right.
I know the Lifetime audience in 1990 is a lot different than the Lifetime audience in 2020.
Yeah.
But that may have been a taboo thing to talk about in 1990 until, well, excuse the phrase, and I don't mean this intentionally, until the topic broke, until you actually had that first condom commercial. Oh, by the way, that was 1991 on future installment Herman's Head.
I remember that episode.
I'm
Anyway,
not touching
please
that. I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that. But no,
Continue, Mike. Continue.
I'm trying to take the high road. Thank you. But also the sweaters themselves, we're used to the teal and the yellow and the red sweaters. The colors changed a little bit. So yeah, the colors, Team 1 actually looks pretty much like that teal color. Not really a green. It's about that teal color. Team 2 wore red, and Team 3 wore blue. So maybe they wanted to put a yellow in to lighten up the palette a bit, because red and green and blue, especially that dark blue, and the red was a brighter red, and the teal, obviously it's teal. It's a lighter blue green, but I wonder if the yellow was added to give some contrast.
Give some balance to the muted colors of the supermarket combined with the loud colors of the sweaters.
You said it a lot better than I could. That's pretty spot on. But also, in some of the early episodes, they actually went down to dollars and cents.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
And yeah, they'd say, "Oh, you won $461.57." Okay, why don't you either round it up to 462 or round it down to 461? And that didn't last terribly long.
No.
And the only other time, I remember this happening once, and I'm sure it's happened more than once, but they did have a dollar tie. They did have a dollar tie in terms of two teams getting the same amount of dollars, and they actually did go down to cents as the tiebreaker for that show. And that just makes me wonder if for later episodes, when they didn't do dollars and cents, did they take, and I don't want to throw much math terminology here because we don't want you thinking too much on this show, but did they take the floor of the actual dollar amount, or did they take the ceiling? In other words, did they just lop off, if again, using the 461.57 example, did they just lop off the 57 cents and take the floor, which is 461, or did they raise it to the next highest dollar, which would be 462, which would be the ceiling? So there's your math lesson for the day, kids. Mr. Klaus has successfully completed his obligations for teaching over the summer.
But guys,
Yes. Yeah, we
We're
got to
not-
talk about the real reason we're here.
Yeah,
And
we're
Chico
not-
alluded to this earlier.
Well, here's the thing. We're not here the real reason we're doing this entry is not for the stuff with Hughes or the stuff with the clock on the side. No. Or the penalties. No. We're here to talk about one thing. That was during the middle of the sweep. They had monsters in the aisles to distract the
Monsters.
Yes, monsters.
Yeah, darn right they had monsters in the aisles.
Yeah. They had they had a Frankenstein monster. They had all sorts of monsters. Now, Mike, when you brought this up to me, like 2 years ago or a year ago, about the monsters in Supermarket Sweep. Now, I'm gonna say I was 6 years old. I watched Supermarket Sweep all the time in 1990. I have no memories of the monsters.
Oh, I remember the monsters really well. Now, as I mentioned before we started the show, my family, well, specifically Mom and my sister and myself, we religiously watched Supermarket Sweep. And you better believe there were monsters in the aisle. And all their purpose is they'd roam around the aisles. Don't know if it was randomly or if they knew where they were going. Well, they had to know where they were going because they could see through the masks. Otherwise, they'd be hitting stuff, going down the supermarket. But I wonder if, somebody had an earpiece, turn left, go down aisle 3, just to, get more camera time and prevent shoppers from shopping in that area. But yes, there were 4 monsters, and there was a Frankenstein's monster. There was a gorilla.
Gorilla.
Thank you, Francesa. And there was a big turkey named Big Dave.
Not Batista.
Well, I wonder if it's an homage to David Ruprecht.
Yeah, it was probably. I'll tell you right now, though, it would have worked either way.
It could have. It could have worked either way. And then the one that, when I first told Greg about this, he did not believe this. And I said, I'm going to prove you wrong. You've got to see this. There was a creature called Mr. Yuck. And how to describe Mr. Yuck?
How do you describe Mr. Yuck?
It's not the Mr. Yuck from the poison ads from back in the day, the poison control or anything like that, where it's a guy with a green face sticking out his tongue and squinting. Mr. Yuck had the ugliest face. I mean, he had a nose that was like a snout with big nostrils and this big ugly grin with, not even an ugly grin, just an ugly face. His teeth, he needs to see an orthodontist. And he has a little tuft of red hair on top of his head. And his eyes are protruding.
I'm looking at the picture right now. His nose is where his eyes are supposed to be.
Yeah, and his eyes are sort of where his ears are supposed to be. And when I say protruding, think of oh gosh, this is going to sound goofy, but think Gary the Snail on SpongeBob, where his eyes are protruding out of his head. Yeah, those type of eyes. And Mr. Yuck sometimes holds his eyes. And what the heck was Al Howard thinking?
Al Howard just didn't give a toss.
I think he was just throwing stuff and seeing what would stick. Throwing darts at the proverbial dartboard. What'll work out? Okay, we're going to get some flack from the PETA people for the lobster tank. Caviar is too expensive and also too obvious. Everybody's going to go to the caviar because, there's no strategy in going for the most expensive thing in the market by probably close to double at that point. And then you have these monsters roaming the market aimlessly, and the monster came down your aisle. He was not stopping. The monsters were not polite. They wouldn't let you finish shopping. As soon as they got to you, you had to turn around. Yep. And yeah, this didn't last all that long. Oh my gosh.
In fact, I have the annotated history of the demise of the market monsters from season 1, thanks to our friends at fandom.com. After appearing for almost 4 months, the show decided to stop using the weird customers throughout the big sweep, originally intended to somewhat startle and scare the customer, as well as provide an alternate obstacle in which to overcome. They were deemed to be an inconvenience. Evidence of their uselessness comes from when a Team 3 contestant, who already has relatively less time out in the market, runs across one first thing, causing them to lose otherwise valuable shopping time. Encounters such as these almost always resulted in a loss. The show's developer realized that viewers would rather watch players running wild through the aisles with awkward items in tow than watch hideous monsters deviating and distracting from the overall fun intended in the final round. They were dropped in late 1990, never to appear again.
Yeah, awkward items, not awkward characters in the market.
Yeah. Give me somebody trying to lug a Jolly Green Giant back to the counter.
I'm going to be quite honest with you guys. I think there's probably a reason why I forgot about the monsters. It's like, yeah, it's basically, what did the monsters do? They just provided an annoyance for the contestants while they were during the big sweep. So it makes sense that they just decided, you know what? Not even gonna bother with these monsters. Just forget them. Everyone cares about the big sweep. That's what we gotta focus on. We gotta focus on the big sweep. We gotta focus on getting as much giant inflatable cans of Pepsi and friggin' the Jolly Green Giant as possible.
And I will add, in this first season, I saw the highest amount of time total that I've ever seen, which was 4 minutes and 10 seconds. But
they'd have to have got that team would have to have gotten every single question right and then some.
Well, from what I've seen, the theoretical maximum time was 5 minutes and 20 seconds. But also, you need to remember that if all three teams match on the, picking 1, 2, or 3, it's worth 30 seconds. And it's possible it could have happened once, or I don't think it would have happened twice in that show. Well, it could have, because as I said, they did play that, A, B, or C type of game multiple times in a number of the episodes that I viewed online. So yeah, if somebody gets lucky and all three teams pick the right answer 2 times, I mean, that's a minute instead of 20 seconds. So anything's possible. But I will add, even though I thought 4:10 is the most time, ardent listener Nick Toder did point out that in the final season of the PAX version back in 2002, one team did amass 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So yeah, there was a team in 2000, and it recently aired on Buzzer. I actually have a recording of it on my computer, where they had 3 minutes and 50 seconds. And not only did they not win, they came in last place.
Yikes.
Yeah. And there were no monsters involved there. But you also got to remember that as time went on, there were more bonuses. You had the bread center, and you had candy, and you had coffee, and you had the stack job, and you had the sweep swipe, and the manager special, and like at least usually 3 different side events in every game. So, and then talking about the bonus items, remember you had the super bonus, $250. So they were just
super, and then there was the super bonus.
Yeah,
$300.
Exactly. So they were just throwing money left and right. And even if you look at these older episodes from 1990, look like a common value or an average value, if you will, of a winning team was in the range of about $600. But as shows get more popular, you can throw a little bit more money out there. Okay, you know what? 600 was good for starters. We'll make it 1,000 now. And then, okay, we're going to get people to watch our show when it comes back on a very minimally watched network PAX. We're going to make it $1,400 and $1,500.
And not just cash. They have cars and cruises and yeah, pretty much it. Cars and cruises.
Yeah.
Cars and cruises and trips to Paris with old Frenchie Dave.
They also had the remember the Geo Trackers month of shows.
The twin car giveaway.
Yeah, the
Yes,
twin car giveaway.
that was great.
That's about it of what I notice on these shows, unless anybody wants to chime in with anything else.
Well, they would sort of scale back on the sponsorships and really go heavy on the bonuses when season 2 came around in September. But basically, it became a really beloved show and one of the defining game shows of the 1990s and early 2000s. But back in 1990, when Lifetime decided to pair a plucky Jay Wolpert show with a reboot of an Al Howard favorites, it was a thing on TV.
And I should mention that the cross promotion with Hughes Supermarkets wasn't in the second season in 1990. So that was a one season and done deal. I'm guessing, again, because of the popularity, hey, we could afford to get items in the market without any sort of sponsorship. Plus, also, if you've heard stories about the food in Supermarket Sweep, it was primarily past date food.
Yeah.
And
Dave
there's
Ruprecht tells stories. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, and not just Dave Ruprecht, Randy West too, and he'd talk about how rank the supermarket would smell after taping 5 episodes under those hot lights with those expired foods, specifically the dairy and the meat. But also, too, Randy West talks about at the end of the season him taking home the big wedges of cheese and all the cheese parties he'd have. Hey, Randy, if you happen to be listening to us. But yeah, that was season 1 of Supermarket Sweep, which, again, shows you the genesis of the show, how it started into how it is, how we remember it, because they haven't aired the first season. Actually, I don't think they've aired the first 2 seasons, either of the 1990 seasons on Buzzer, just 91, 92, 93, 94, and 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think
hey.
you'd have to go to Amazon Prime, Buzzer on Prime Video to get those episodes. I may be wrong though.
As of recently, it looks like Amazon Prime only has Supermarket Sweep from 2000 episodes, but there might be some from 91.
Yes. Oh man, I hope I hope on the 91 episodes they at least have the episode where Matt Vasgersian was on there.
I remember that episode.
What's a heifer?
Oh, by the way, Matt Vasgersian of past installment The XFL 2001 and future installment Sports Geniuses.
Oh, jeez.
And baseball IQ.
It always goes back to something around here. Oh, did we mention David Ruprecht was on Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour? Everything goes back to Twin Peaks, Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour, or making it. Well, guys, we talked about checking out at the supermarket. You know what else people should check out?
What should we check out, Mike?
Well, not you, but our listeners should check out our website, www.itwasathingontv.com, where you can find all the past episodes. I actually did a little tinkering with the website over the last few days. Now you should be able to search the archive by month. So if you want to go to back episodes, instead of letting the whole page load, you can go back by month. So if you want to start at the beginning, you can go to October of 2019. If there's maybe an episode you want to hear from earlier this year, you go to January 2020. So I made it a little bit easier, a little more user-friendly, if you will. And also, we have a Discord. Well, it's sort of a Discord. I have my own Discord, but we do have a section in the Discord dedicated to It Was a Thing on TV, where I talk about some of the upcoming shows. I talk about just some different type of things. One thing that I put there and also on the Twitter, earlier this week was an image that I recently acquired, and I asked people, how many future installments can you come up with that involve these 4 celebrities? And the 4 celebrities are Misty Rowe, Polly Holliday, Peter Isaacson, and Bernie Capel. And if you get 3, I deem that like an average score. 5 is great. If you can get 10, you're cheating, or you're a super expert, because based on what I saw, I found 12 installments, and one of the installments that's an answer to that little question, we're going to cover in 2 weeks.
Ooh.
Yeah, not going to say what it is, but yeah. So at least one of those celebrities is going to be popping up on this podcast in the very near future. And again, besides the Discord and the Twitter, we're on Facebook and Instagram, and don't know if anybody even really cares about the Tumblr at this point. I don't even think anybody's following us on Tumblr, so that may be deleted sooner or later.
We have more followers on Jack Dorsey's hate box.
We have a good number of people following us on Jack Dorsey's hate box, and a bigger following on Instagram. And I think also Facebook has about the same number of followers as
Mark
Instagram.
Zuckerberg's hate box.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of hate to go around nowadays, unfortunately.
There shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be. You're absolutely right. Well, you know what we don't hate?
Our next entry.
You're darn right about that. Our next entry, no spoilers. We briefly alluded to it a number of weeks ago, but we're doing a whole episode on it. But that'll be coming your way on Thursday. And as always, please like and subscribe, rate and review, and share, because sharing is caring. And we really do appreciate your following and liking and all that. It makes us feel nice and warm down inside. So until that installment coming up Thursday, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you later this week with another installment of It Was a Thing on TV. Rar?
I'm not doing the raw.
Okay, that's the ending. That's the ending. I put in a clip from Supermarket Sweep that just had me laughing from season 1. But no, that's the ending. I'm not doing the rar.